question for you today is simple. Does Destiny have a content problem? Now, while a majority of the vocal players generally say yes to this, and I tend to agree with them, don't think it's a lack of things to do issue. Destiny 2 has a directional issue. Until the franchise commits to what it actually wants to be and do within the game, no amount of content will ever feel like it's enough. Think back of all the seasons that we've had in Destiny and the amount of content that's actually been added into the game. Now, how many times have you seen all this content or experienced this content and just shrugged your shoulders, or you've not even noticed it? This is a directional problem. And what I mean by direction is it's not just story beats, it's not new expansions or just roadmaps to a new expansion. It's not individual mechanics like this one. I only showed you this because that is just a pet peeve design choice of mine, but I will get into that at a later date. Direction is an identity issue, and really, I want to ask you this now. What kind of game is Destiny? Is it an MMO, an RPG, looter shooter? A new term I'd like to coin, a collection shooter, casual online shooter, competitive shooter? Is it still even a live service at this point? But doesn't all matter because Destiny tries to be all them at the same time. Because the selectionness really for the direction is it for the players? Is it for the streamers that many of the local community believe it is at times? Is it for metrics or money? And it is most likely them too. But if your priority function is to create money and not a player base, then why are you doing a live service? Because Destiny has probably the most identity whiplash. Majority of the time, it pulls itself into multiple directions, sometimes between expansions as well. So if you cast your mind back to how it was in Destiny 2 Vanilla, to how it is now, this day and age, with Renegades that's just released, and what's changed within that time, and what parts within the start to the finish that you've most enjoyed or most disliked, it's because of the different directions. And it's not because they've had a different director every time. That is a reason, but it's because they've not stayed on a steady path since the beginning. Perfect comparison for this at this moment in time, oddly, it's Call of Duty. Because if you take the example of it's the same franchise, year on, year out, but each different entry, every year release is completely new and fresh compared to the year before. You have got a little bit of a trend over the last couple of years where they are releasing the same sequel of a game that just released the year before, whereas what it was previous is they had 3 different companies within Call of Duty, and they had a 3-year dev cycle to get the game released. So think of Modern Warfare, Black Ops, and then some random other niche game. They would release the Modern Warfare, then a Black Ops, then something
had
else,
the 3
then
game
back to a Modern
studios,
Warfare,
then
then
a
Black
Black
Ops, then something. Problem is when
And
just
you
to keep
compare
it
that to
fresh,
Destiny,
we've only got the one studio completing an expansion year in, year out. Back to direction and directors, you have different people heading them at the moment in time. They want to see what Destiny looks like in 12 months on the release of the expansion, 12 months prior, where they actually want to get to. There are some positive examples of this. Take a look at Witch Queen and have a look at that year expansion. I do generally believe that year holds up better than what Forsaken is. Don't shoot me. But then you look at Final Shape, where the actual expansion is probably the best release on par to Forsaken. But the year release was far below what Forsaken released each season in and out. And that's a problem. Because the best examples are one season could be a very heavy grind MMO style. Another season simplifies everything that was introduced the expansion before, the season before. One update rewards investment, the next one just looks at it and removes it. The key idea that is that the choices are not really wrong that Bungie are committing to. Together, they do feel inconsistent. And it being a live service game, it really hurts at times because, especially as a player such as myself, when you're going through year in, year out, you lose a bit of the past. And that's a problem with a live service games. There's not many other live service games I play as often as Destiny. So I can't tell you or compare it to any others. But if you do play another live service that has been going on for at least a minimal of 10 years and you've only got a selection for that, they may experience the exact same thing. But the problem is the old versions don't exist. They just get overwritten, really. And you can't revisit it unless you've found it tucked up away in the new portal and it's not been copy and pasted over. There has been occasions where I want to go back and play the Red War campaign. I do understand it will be quite outdated with the systems we have got at this moment in time, but it's nostalgia. And personally, I paid for it, and I should be able to go and see and play that content previously. But as a player as well, I do need to understand I'm in an ever changing world, is what a live service is. There needs to be an element of back and forth between the developer and the player to understand that everything that you may start on year one might not fully be there in year 10. But is that an issue in itself? Because as a paying customer, if I am watching something just disappear and I put a lot of money into it, it just leaves an extremely sour taste. And that is the biggest mistake Bungie has ever done. And that is sure on a directional change. Don't be fooled otherwise that it will be a system related change. It could have related to it, but it's a directional one of what can they do going forward that can change the game at its base to get them in the end to earn more money. So, like I mentioned before, features should really change. Systems should evolve. Activities rotating is fine, but the whole destiny of the game needs to be stable. The foundation is the direction. Without it, good ideas feel quite temporary and nothing feels safe to invest in after that happens. Because over the last while, I'll probably summarize it in this way, because there's three play groups that I've noticed as time's gone on with Destiny, and it's broad, casual, hardcore, and I like to call them middle ground. So I'll start with the casual. They play for vibes. Gunplay is satisfying because it is a Bungie game, and everyone loves space magic. They log in, they shoot some stuff, they just log out. Well, you've got the hardcore players, and these are the complete opposite. This is where I would sit in, deeply invested, follow every update, every twab that gets sent out every week. They'll be there for the newest game modes, contests, metas, and just commitment. And then you have the middle ground version of this. These are the people that care deeply about Destiny. But the main thing is they don't want Destiny to be second job. They want depth, and they want depth without burnout, really. They feel direction probably the most when it changes. And if direction does change too often, you only really help one group. You don't help all three collectively because you're always going to hurt the other two or one. You need to support all three in a live service game or a game that releases continuous installments, because what it does, it causes conflicts. And again, back to the Call of Duty example compared to Destiny. Call of Duty, anybody that's played that franchise and played it over the years, you've got your favorites. You've played certain genres of Call of Duty that are a bit more arcadey. You've played certain versions of Call of Duty that are a bit more boots on the ground, but it's still an arcade shooter. It is art. The different companies that have made the games and the different directions they've been in, you can sit down and I can ask you Modern Warfare or Black Ops, and 98% of the player base of play Call of Duty will answer one of the two. I am a Modern Warfare guy out of the two. That's exactly what's happened to Destiny over the years. You can ask them the exact same what's your favourite franchise? Your top 3 answers will always be probably Forsaken, Final Shape, Witch Queen, probably in that order too. Not for myself, mine's completely different. And you could probably ask what's the worst expansion. People probably always relay Curse of Osiris. Then they'll go to Beyond Light, and Beyond Light hurts more again because of that situation of sunsetting. But look at individual terms and parts of Destiny as a whole. You've got a group that likes crafting over grinding. You've got people that like PvE only, and then you've got people that like PvP only. And without the direction, it's just a tug of war everywhere. Every new system just feels like it's getting pulled from one player base to the other player base. So in reality, you don't want direction to never change. You don't want to ignore feedback from the player base. You don't want to ignore certain groups of that player base either. So there might be a massive change that is coming up for Destiny. You don't want to just listen to the middle ground people, because that's not the full player base. I don't have the numbers to hand. I probably will never know unless I worked at Bungie of what people's play times will be, and that's probably a very strong indicator of where they would sit within the 3 groups that I've decided. But direction as well isn't about sticking with the bad ideas forever. Let's be honest right now, if that didn't occur, Destiny would never have pulled itself out of the hole from the release of Destiny 1, the release of Destiny 2, and yes, Curse of Osiris. Forsaken resurrected this game back, and it proved that when you had that direction, they were put in a corner and they needed to make a split decision of where do we want this game to go to. They brought out gold, and the player base prevailed. They celebrated. So what you want to do with direction, and this is, I can only aim this to Bungie, is you want to know what your core philosophy is, and you want to know as well if long-term investment really matters. You want systems that really respect your time. You want accessibility, but you don't want complexity over it. It needs to be a nice, fine balance. You need to know if the power fantasy really matters, and you need to know it's meaningful. And right now, Destiny is sending a lot of mixed signals our way. And if anybody that watched my introduction video, I want to implant my own ideas into these videos too. So players don't burn out because of the lack of content. They generally burn out because it's not building towards anything. These videos are meant to be very raw. They're meant to be quite, I wouldn't say unprofessional, but not as professional as what you can find in the other ends of YouTube. I am new to start off with. And for that, just like Destiny, the direction needs meaning. And with meaning comes repetition. You give context to a grind within Destiny 2. And really, you need the confidence that when I load up that game and I put time into it, it matters. Because without it, everything feels just disposable. Think of a game that you've bought, that you played a couple of hours or even a few minutes and you just turned it off and then you thought, what a waste. And if any of you done that for a Destiny expansion, well, power to you that you're watching this video. So my main thing, and why I believe the direction is the most important part of Destiny's franchise right now, is it needs a sequel. You cannot keep expanding Destiny 2 as is. And before we make new subclasses, we make new activities, we reinvent the wheel and create new systems, you need to understand what is Destiny and who is it for. Because once you figure that out, you commit to it and you just design everything around that answer. So I want Bungie to have Destiny 3 on a big whiteboard. The first little post-it note I want on that, in big massive writing if you've got an artist in the room, just tell me what the direction of that game is. And you need to accept, some players generally will leave and never return. Others will come back and return to a Destiny 3. And new ones will arrive, because direction just isn't one mechanic. It's everything really. It's story, it's the loot, it's the end game. Think of like the onboarding process. That's probably a very common thing that people believe Destiny 2 should have improved on to get that player base back, because right now the player base is not increasing and it's aged. Priorities have changed, including myself. Many former hardcore players probably now sit in that middle ground aspect, and the key question is, are you aiming Destiny 3 to be for the casuals, for the hardcores, for the grinders, for the crafters, completionists, competitors, newer players, or are you actually aiming it for the veterans? Because if you don't choose one, it's just going to lose all identity, really. So, what I want out of Destiny 3, so right into the meat of it, and I know that I've gone long at the very beginning, but I just wanted to get my thoughts in it. Majority of these videos going forward will be me just putting my ideas forward eventually. I just always like to put a bit of context to where it is. Now, my main two things are looter shooter and collective shooter. Obviously, you've got the social aspects because it is an online game. You need that online identity, but you need a philosophy, really. And you need to have RNG where it makes sense, but you also need to have clear goals everywhere. And this is the problem and a solution I can probably provide. I know you might shoot me or disagree with this opinion, but that's okay. Give me your thoughts, really, because I want all loot, most loot, I should say, actually, 80% of it to be earnable one way or another. Think of dungeons most recently and how you earn exotics through dungeons and raids. You do a list of triumphs and you get a better chance of earning said weapon. And I've got transparency of that. Is if I do a solar arc void subclasses, I've got 3 extra chances to get my exotic weapon when I complete that raid or dungeon. And if I do some other challenges too, for example, like I think the feats came in for these last 2 raids and dungeons, where if you do complete so many 1, 2, 3, 4 feats versions of that game mode, you get the higher chance too. You could do the exact same for normal weapons, and it meets 2 ways. You can earn a loot drop that has the god roll, you can use it there and then, or you go the long way route. And if you don't want to grind directly that activity day in, day out, you can do it through a very series of just triumphs or challenges or a bit of a checklist to get to a set point. I have got a personal idea that relates into how crafting and RNG should work together, which will be in my next video. But think of as crafting as a summary. You earn the base weapon. You improve it over usage, no matter how you want to implement that. You don't want it to be like the Season of the Revenant, where you load up that random mission, kill 15 enemies, and then you listen to 2 sentences, and then that's the weekly story over. You don't want that sort of checklist. You want it to be a little bit meaningful. Think of it as, I know I'm going back to Call of Duty. I recently haven't played it for 4 years, 3 years properly, but they had like skin camos and emblems and badges that you could earn doing certain things. So, for example, I remember in Modern Warfare 2, the original, not the remade version, kill 3 people or 2 people with a claymore, you get a funny little title to put on when you go online. Stuff like that. So you have a weapon, you get a collateral headshot with a sniper of 2 enemies. Perfect. You have now earned a perk on that weapon, because you want the perks to mean something whilst you earn them, but allow people that are willing to grind gain it their ways and means. If they want to brute force it, because there's many players that are like that, let them do it. If you want somebody to go around the houses and get to that point, and it could equal similar amount of player time and investment, but it may not too, because who knows what them challenges could be. But the key warning is you don't want to fall into the trap of being a checklist for a checklist thing. That never worked for anybody either. And if that checklist is much quicker than a normal grind, people are just going to go jump straight to the checklist immediately. We see it on Destiny all the time. I think Destiny is probably the key player base that tries to drive efficiency over everything, which is amazing in some aspects. I do appreciate every other YouTuber's videos that have got me hours spare time back because they showed me a little bit of a cheese. But you want to avoid systems that just really stall progress, is what I'm trying to say. So really, Destiny isn't special just because of the loot alone. Don't get me wrong, the direction shouldn't only look at how you earn weapons. That's just one element of it. You need to look at the other direction too. Now, what got me hooked in Destiny originally when I loaded up that beta for the very first time was the atmosphere, the music, and the mystery of the game. I think a lot of players my age, so I've just hit 30, they would remember that introduction cutscene with the speaker and the music playing in the background and thinking, what is this? What is this darkness? What is everything else in the game? And there's been plenty of times where I'll just sit in the tower and just listen to the music, be engrossed within the environment. And Destiny's really lost that at this moment in time. It's felt just a bit more corporate, is the way I can only explain it. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as it's very streamlined, it's quantitized, and it's cleansed in a way. It feels more like a product than an actual video game. And I will be honest, I get a lot of that from my full-time job. So having that in a video game when I load it up for my enjoyment is quite sad to see. They've traded that atmosphere for accessibility in a way. The functionality has improved. Yeah, I can now click 2 menu spaces quicker to get to a tower, for example. But let's be honest, they've added that many UI elements to it. It still takes 20 billion clicks on a controller to get from one space to another. But it's just a foundation. And this is what I wanted this video to be, really. What I want to discuss next time is the progression of Destiny, of where it should be from Destiny 2, and what it should look like in Destiny 3, and how that comes hand in hand with direction. And these are where a lot of my videos are going to go. They're going to interlink with each other and overlap and just have that discussion. Thank you for listening. If you disagree with anything I've said, just tell me why. And if you agree, please tell me your vision of what Destiny 3's direction should be. That conversation is the point. And if you've stuck around for this long, thank you for this first video. If you've not watched the introduction video, I'm going to try and aim for weekly uploads. And I've got some other ideas for quick fire short videos to put on the channel too, just as fun and games. But that's enough for now. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your morning, your afternoon, and your evening, and I'll talk to you soon.